So I took a gander at our very first look at The Greatest Showman, Hugh Jackman's big upcoming movie. This is basically his reward for playing Wolverine for 17 years. Fox was like, you want to make an original musical? This was before La La Land, mind you, and Beauty and the Beast. Go make an original musical. But having looked at these photos, my first takeaway has nothing to do with Mr. Hugh Jackman, I'm so sorry, but with Zendaya. And my reaction is she has an amazing management team, like right up there with Paris Jackson's. And speaking of Paris Jackson, I think pretty soon they're going to be competing for the same roles. But right now, it's all about Zendaya, I guess, getting a head start, right? As she debuts in spectacular fashion on the silver screen in not one, but two movies this year. Of course, first, Spider-Man Homecoming, where she is on trend with a very au naturel look inspired clearly by Alicia Keys. But then look how beautifully she's going to balance it out with her look here, which is not only high glam, but I would say very Harley Quinn. Oh, look at that cotton candy hair. Just imagine how enchanting that's going to be when the image moves. I'm very excited for Zendaya. And don't worry, she's not going to be stuck singing any old-timey songs because they have revealed that the music for this film will be modern. And if you're wondering if that will work, just go watch Moulin Rouge for a resounding yes. Now, this project comes out at Christmas time, and I hope that Zendaya puts some Christmas bonus checks in her management team's stockings as a thank you for an amazing 2017. I mean, even if these movies don't do well, I think that Zendaya she's launched. I mean, that's her flying into the next stage of her career. But the musical itself is about the rise of P.T. Barnum, who, and it's interesting, you're going to see the beginning of circuses as they currently die, thanks to PETA. And I wonder how PETA will feel about this movie. They're like, just don't glamorize what happens to the animals and we'll be okay. But anyway, this, of course, is now coming hot on the heels of La La Land and Beauty and the Beast. And it has the same music and lyrics team as La La Land, so that's going to help it out a lot. The Oscar-winning music and lyrics team. And then when it comes to Beauty and the Beast, Bill Condon, interestingly enough, contributed to the script. But the director, he's new. He's an Australian commercial director who also has some VFX background, and his name is Michael Gracey. And you have to really respect how Hugh Jackman really works to support the Australian filmmaking community, right? I mean, he could have picked anybody to direct this movie, and he picked Michael Gracey, although it was Gracey's idea to make this a musical, and he says he regrets it because it took 7 years to get this off the ground. But it looks like it's flying high so far, for the most part. Now back to La La Land and Beauty and the Beast. This does very much look like a mix of the two. Although I do get strong Oz the Great and Powerful vibes because of the setting and the time period, but also because Michelle Williams seems to be wearing the exact same wig. She's like, it's still good. Let's save a little bit of money where we can, right? And then she saw Zendaya's wig and she was like, I'm so stupid. It's like, you know, it's like when you wear like a nice dress to a party and then someone shows up like in slinky red and you're like, what is wrong with me? All right, so anyway, the thing that I really took away from this after I marveled at how wonderful Zendaya looks was that live action fairy tales have done movie making today a great service, and that they have brought back the ornate costumes and sets of like the 50s, the Technicolor era is what I would say, where they, you know, I know we have it today kind of like science fiction and comic book movies, right? There's some great world building, but so much of that also is CGI a lot of the time. I'm talking about, well, you know, a lot of Beauty and the Beast was CGI, but I'm talking about sets that for the most part to some degree actually exist. And and Moulin Rouge, you might say, well, you compare this to Moulin Rouge, isn't that the same thing? I think Moulin Rouge had a bit more of a slapped together feel, and it wanted to feel, that was intentional, like it was happening backstage, right? It was at a seedy little, you know, gentleman's club, right? And it wasn't supposed to have the showmanship that The Greatest Show is supposed to have and that Beauty and the Beast had, etc. And so when I was watching Beauty and the Beast earlier this year, the second time, I looked at how amazing the actors looked in their costumes. I was just like taking it all in, and I was like, you know, Emma Watson, how wonderful must it have been for her to step out on the set in costume and for everyone to be like, yep, you're Belle. You know, so often you see actors filming and they could be just crossing the street, but oh yes, they happen to be being filmed for a movie. But this idea for them to truly emerge from their costume and makeup trailer in character, I think it's like, there's no question that they are in another world creating something. You know what? it's the return of movie magic. They're creating magic. And I get that same feel when I look at these first stills. And it's interesting to contrast it from Murder on the Orient Express, which also recently released their stills. I'm going to break that down when they released their first trailer. But it didn't have the magic and the handsomeness that this does, and that Beauty and the Beast does. And so I think that's going to hurt Murder on the Orient Express. We'll see how it comes together when it's in the trailer. But here, the only problem with these photos is the one with Hugh Jackman, where he's center stage, as P.T. Barnum famously was. But I think for a movie about a showman, I think that he's not selling this photo with his face. It almost looks like this is a rehearsal where he's like looking to Michael Gracie off camera being like, did I get it? Is it good? Do we have to do it again? I mean, I just think they could have picked a much better photo with him, instead of it being a behind the scenes photo, I would have really liked to have seen him gesturing to the audience being like, come watch my show, right? I mean, my focus is totally going to that bearded lady over there. But fabulous costumes, beautiful color, and I think, La La Land also had beautiful color, and it also was very stylized, but it's not like the Disney live action fairy tales. And so I think that if they can bring in something in a wider scope beyond themselves, this kind of movie magic, that would be very exciting indeed. And Mary Poppins Returns should also contribute to this as well. But it's neat to see someone besides Disney doing it and doing it well. All right, so what do you think of this first look at The Greatest Showman? How do you think Zendaya looks? Do you think she should be worried about Paris Jackson? Should she be looking over her shoulder? What do you think of how Hugh Jackman looks? And what do you think of his little mini-me, Zac Efron? Boy, do they look a lot alike, right? I'm very excited for Zac Efron as well, but these photos really don't do much for him. Hopefully in future pics. So write your thoughts down below, and you can check out some more videos right now.